Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. I'm your co-host, Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by Marcie. Woo! Um, you know what? We're gonna, because we always start with the Leafs first thing, I think we should start off with the Leafs again, even though that's probably actually not what we have at the top of our list. But we'll start with the Leafs. Leafs have not played a game since we've recorded our last episode, but we thought we would take the time to do a little bit more of an in-depth look of matchup of the Battle of Ontario that is happening tonight in Ottawa, of Leafs versus Ottawa. I will be at the game. I will be there. So we'll be providing your in-person experience of what it's like to see Joseph Woll play hockey in person, because he is getting the start. It is confirmed. If Ilya Samsonov was not well enough to practice on Wednesday. Yeah, no, did they practice? Yeah, they did practice yesterday. On Wednesday, he was not well enough. He was at practice. He did a little bit of skating around and then left practice early, so not well enough to play. I think there's hoping he might be. Apparently the plan is he's well enough to back up, but not to start. So Joseph Woll will get the start again, which, not that I'm complaining anything about. No. Still no news on who's starting for Ottawa yet. Usually they release their lineups pretty early in the day. But it's matchup number 2 of the season for Leafs versus Ottawa. Ottawa won the last one by a lot. It was a bad game to watch. Last time the Leafs, it was a 6-3 win for Ottawa in Toronto. Not great. And it's also not great that Ottawa right now is on a bit of a win streak right now. They won against Seattle, and then they had a dominant 6-2 win versus the New York Rangers, who are first in their division, on Tuesday. And I watched most of that game, and it was wasn't even close, so it'll be an interesting one to see, especially after the Leafs coming off of 4 days rest after their loss to Boston on Saturday. So we'll see. Leafs are also still without Giordano and Liljegren. And the Sens potentially are missing Shabbat for a knee injury that he sustained versus Seattle. So, there's injuries on both sides. So we'll see, if he does. He was going in for Shabbat was going in for scans, so we'll see. I don't know, who knows. But yeah, just I don't know. It's gonna be a fun one to watch. I think it always is. Battle of Ontario, for some, no matter how bad a Ottawa Senators season is going for them at any given point in time, they always play competitive hockey against the Leafs. So it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. Another stat to throw out there before we talk about what we could expect our personal expectations, just some more numbers to throw at you. John Tavares sits at 996 career NHL points going into tonight. So there's a potential, if he has a really good game, that
3-point night.
We could watch him score his 1,000th career point, which is a huge milestone. If not, it's his line. We do actually have a sneak peek at what those lines could be, projected line according to the Senators, which are the same as they've been for the past few games, besides except Reeves in on the 4th line for McMahon, which I don't know if that's shocking. I feel like it is. I don't know. He I don't know about you, but I would have. Yes, Ottawa's a very physical team. You have Brady Tkachuk, who's a very physical player. But if it's going to be a close game, you could expect it to be. And you're not going to play Reeves in close games. Why would you? Anyways, that's just my opinion after, he didn't play much against Boston. He played all of under 6 minutes. So sometimes you question Sheldon Keefe's decision. Again, this is what the Sens think the Sheldon Keefe will do. And usually Sheldon Keefe is pretty predictable. So
yeah, I'm a bit if they're gonna start Reeves, if they're gonna like play Reeves, then like I want to see him playing. I don't want another like 6-minute night, because it's like, if you're gonna, like I said last time, if you're gonna start him and you can play him, like, use him, don't just bench him, because again, Bobby McMahon is very good. Bobby McMahon has been better than Brian Reeves this season so far. Yes, it's a physical team, but it's like, from what we've seen so far, Ryan Reeves has not been
a physical player
at all. Like, the first 2 games maybe, and then it's just like he's just disappeared. And it's like, at this point, you just need to figure out what the fuck's going on with him, because I'm getting sick of it. I think everyone's getting a bit sick of it, and it's just like every single time I see that he's on the lineup, I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, we'll watch him for all of 3-4 shifts of the game, and then we will not see him again. Like, we'll watch 3-4 like not great shifts, and then whatever. Like, yes, okay, he scored a goal for the Leafs. So, like, okay, like, yeah, he scored a goal, but like, that's not what he was brought to the team to do.
No.
And he was there to be a physical presence on that line, and in a line, and like, why? I'm just thinking, like, why? Like, I think of like who he's sort of meant to replace, like kind of the Wayne Simmons role kind of the role that Wayne Simmons had last year. And Wayne Simmons, I feel like, did a much better job of fulfilling that when he was at least also playing hockey when he was in the lineup as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So, again, this is something where it was like, I was questioning this signing during the summer when it happened. And, you know, I'm not to sit here and, you know, tell everybody I told you so. But, you know, the fact that I'm still questioning this signing in December now is very indicative.
Yeah. And like, not to, like, I've just got Reeves and McMahon's stats up so far this year. And Bobby McMahon is leading by 1 point. He's got two assists in 4 games. Ryan Reeves has got 1 goal in 17 games. That says kind of a lot about what should be happening and what isn't currently happening.
Especially on that fourth line where it's like, not gonna lie, some nights Noah Gregor's the best thing on that line. And Noah Gregor's our PTO signing.
Yeah.
Which, no shame against Noah Gregor. He's a great player. Like, I'm not dissing Noah Gregor by saying he's a PTO signing and therefore, but like, you know, Ryan Reeves on that line, as it is expected to be this game, was the star signing. He was the big flashy. I think he was a July 1st signing for the Leafs, right? He was the only July 1st signing that the Leafs did, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Because both Domi, because I remember his interview came out while I was, like, his like first interview as a Leaf that they put on TSN was coming out as like the Michael Bunting news was coming out, and I was like, you know, having a crisis on my kitchen floor.
Yeah, I don't remember much that day apart from holy shit, we've lost Hull.
Yeah.
that happened and I blacked out.
Yeah, so, but like, and the fact that he's getting like that line, like that, the shining for that line is Noah Gregor. And, you know, it just, anyways, Noah Gregor also is just, not to say he's a flashy player, because he's not, but when you're fast, you're a little bit flashier than a slower guy on the team.
Yeah.
You know. Another, just because, you know, some expectation, because the Leafs, just to put this into perspective, because I'm going through my notes, I realized I wrote this down. Leafs last 5 out of 6 games have gone into overtime, which is really fantastic. The Sens do not have an overtime loss.
That fills me with so much confidence.
Just if we were like, whatever. The Sens have not lost in overtime. They also have like a 10-10 record, 10-10-0 record. They have played way less games than everyone else so far this season, like a considerable amount. And I don't know what's up I don't know what's up with that schedule. It's weird because they had the trip to Sweden, but so did the Red Wings, Wild, and Leafs, and they are not considerably behind anyone in any other teams in games played. So it's just a funky thing about their schedule where they do have, if I remember, I'm on the Sens mailing list, like their email list. So I get their emails with like what's coming up and stuff like that, about them like trying to sell me tickets to games I really don't want to go to sometimes. No, I do not want to see like Sens and I think it was like St. Louis on a like Thursday in January, something like that. I was like, not happening. But yeah, just they have a really packed January schedule, like, so I guess it's obviously gonna make up somewhere. Eventually all teams are gonna play 82 games. It's just interesting to see, like, a lot of people are like, oh, they're at the bottom of the Atlantic. They've also have played like way less games than everyone else. Like, so there's a reason they're at the bottom of the Atlantic. Yeah, they've played 20 games, which is 2 less than the next closest team to them. The next closest teams in numbers of games played, which is the Kings, Caps, and Leafs. So no wonder, like, people are like, oh, they're so low in the standings. Yeah, well, the closest team, like, they have the same number of wins as the Sabres, who have played 6 more games than them.
Ouch.
So I think they're just I think it's just luck of the schedule for sure. So, and I think they seem to also be hitting an upswing. Speaking of the Ottawa Senators as well, they bolstered their coaching staff by hiring former coach Jacques Martin to their coaching staff as an advisor. He was the head coach of the Ottawa Senators from 1996 to 2004. So obviously trying to add some coaching prowess and improve their coaching without firing their current head coach.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Ottawa, every Sens fan wants them to do. They're trying to say, but look, we've hired this guy who you guys really like because he was the coach when like the Sens were making the playoffs all the time in the 90s and early 2000s. See? We're doing things, but we don't want to fire our coach.
God.
Please be distracted by this. But
it's like, yeah, look over there. Look, and you can ignore the burning, firing, collapsing buildings over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, so we'll see how the Leafs go. I would really like that Leafs second line to get scoring again.
Yeah.
Marner scored. Yes, Marner scored a lot of goals, but when I mean that Leafs, that second line, I mean, the other 2 guys on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And not just all in one game.
And not just all in one game. Exactly. It's like, yeah, okay, like they've scored, like, oh, look at all the scoring that we have now. But it's like, I'd also like to see those, like, them not just have one really great game, but them to have like a lot of really great games.
Yeah, that'd be really nice for us.
Some momentum, but I know like having 4 days off and then some momentum is not fantastic. Like, and having 4 days off and trying to keep the momentum, I should say, it's not easy to do. So, oh, here we go. We do have some lines, some some projected lines for the Sens tonight. Trying to think of anything of note. Yeah, no Shabbat on here, so he's out. And it's going to be Anton Forsberg in net for the Sens tonight, which is different than who it was last time. So I have to look up his stats because I only have Korpisalo's stats. Yeah, it was Jonas Korpisalo last game versus the Leafs. Now Anton Forsberg is getting the start. Let's look at his Leafs. He's Swedish goaltender. Hold on, let me NHL site can load. This is what happens when we do these things the day of a game and they don't have stats up and we can't predict who would start. So this season, in 9 games played, Forsberg has 5 wins, 1 shootout. So thanks. I want a shootout for my goalie. A goals against average of a 2.91 and a save percentage of 891. Whereas Joseph Woll, in 14 games played with an 8.51 record, he has a 2.85 goals against average with a 9.15 save percentage. So just your goalie matchup for the game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, for me, like the Sens goalies, kind of interchangeable. I feel like I'm going to have, maybe if we had more Sens fans listening, they're going to be a little bit pissed off that I said that. But yeah, there's nothing like about these lines that are really like, standing out to me too much. Josh Norris as top line center. I'm looking, I don't see anything that's like crazy. It's a pretty standard Sens line without shot in it. Like it's standard. So I'm not gonna read it out because it's on Twitter and I don't want to. And also we have other stuff to cover, so I don't know. Oh yeah, speaking of Leafs, yesterday Brad Treliving announced on Wednesday yesterday that John Klingberg will be undergoing hip surgery and will be out for the rest of the season and placed on LTIR. He's played 14 games for the Leafs, 0 goals, 5 assists. It's unfortunate. Like we kind of knew this was coming when it was announced that he was hurt. But it's unfortunate to see his season come to an end for sure. Like it definitely, like there's gonna be all these people that are being like, oh, like he's, they're making up injuries to circumvent the cap, and it's like, well, if he's getting hip surgery,
that's not exactly something you just do.
Yeah, he's getting hip surgery, and he's had a history with having hip injuries. It's not his first time getting hip surgery. He's gotten hip surgery before. And I think it's, it definitely, like, I don't see anything wrong with why a lot of people are like, oh, why did Treliving sign him? I'm like, well, I can see where Treliving is coming. It's a gamble, right? And it's a gamble that doesn't have a big downside, right? Because either you're getting close to prime Klingberg, which is a very solid defenseman, or, you're getting... Or, he's hurt. He gets hurt and put him out on LTIR, needs to get surgery. That's probably something that was part of the discussion, right? So this does give the Leafs a little bit more room to play with, especially with the fact that, like, you have 2 defensemen who can still play, who are out for the time being and are going to still miss some considerable time and don't really have a timeline as to when they can return. So... do you make a trade? And there was, there's all this talk about who it could be, and it has the potential to being with the Flyers, and there's a whole lot of going on around, and you eventually are like, okay, there's not really anybody great out there on the market for the Leafs to look at right now.
Yeah,
maybe
it's a bit,
because a lot of maybe give it some time, and some teams who will think that they're still in playoff contention will start to realize that they're not, and start oh, we're willing to sell these guys, whatever. But I don't know, who knows. It's just unfortunate for that, like that Klingberg will be out. Treliving also said that he will have his surgery end of December, and it's like a 5 to 6 month recovery time. So essentially his season's over.
Yeah, he's done.
Which also at the same time, then you also have to start to ask the question of, is that also his career as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because Klingberg is 31, which is not old. It's not old, but with the history that he has.
Yeah, with like this surgery, it's gonna be a long recovery.
You start to look at it, and I mean, he's around the same age as Matt Murray, and who knows if Matt Murray's going to return goaltending. I mean, we haven't really seen him. Well, we've seen him.
Yeah, I think like on the home opener when they like announced the lineup, it was like Matt Murray. I was like, I didn't know whether to tweet this or not, because I was like, this would be like really mean and it upset people, but I was like, the look on his face was the look of someone who's not coming back.
Yeah, like he had crutches. He physically did not, like, you could see in his face that he's had a rough, like, that, because like people when they get surgery or when they go through something that causes, you can see it on their face for like a while afterwards if they're in pain. And usually, like, I am someone who has issues with lower joint pain because I grew up skiing and not taking care of my knees or hips, and then other injuries have piled on as well. It's usually now this is also comes from knowing how to read my facial expressions too, is usually Simon can tell just by the look on my face if my knees hurt or not, if we're walking anywhere. Right? And so it's like you can tell and you can see it, and he looks in pain. He had crutches, and it's unfortunate for sure.
Oh yeah.
But that's, of course, that's just the way the sport works, right? So, and I think at this point he has kids, right? Klingberg, yeah, he has kids. I think he does. Yeah, he has kids.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, like, then you start thinking about the point of like, yeah, he could make a return, but like, would he be giving up, I don't know, playing with his kids at 50 versus getting 2-3 more seasons of hockey now, right? If he comes back to playing, right?
You've got to, like, weigh it up and just be like, is it worth going back and playing like another 2-3 seasons, being like mid at best?
Yeah. Or would you rather be able to play and run around and chase after your kids at 50, right? 50 again, 20, which I think his kids are little, so he's only 30, in like 20 years when he's 50, his kids will be 20, but like be able to like do the things with your kids, like travel and whatever that you would do with your college
and grandkids.
And grandkids too. Yeah. That's maybe also a good thing to say.
So, I was like, yeah, he's gonna be running around with his 20-year-old kids.
I don't know. My parents, like, and I'm thinking about, like, okay, my parents are older than Clint, like, we're 20. Like, I'm thinking about like traveling with us. We're at the age where our parents are taking us on trips over, doing fun things, stuff like that, right? So yeah, that's enough Leafs talk though. I don't know. Do we want to talk trades, or you know what? Let's talk Arizona, and then we'll talk. Then we'll yell about Gary Bettman.
My favorite thing to do.
So Arizona. I don't know about you. Is Arizona turning into like a wagon of a team? Like, are they good now?
Are they good?
Are they good? Because after defeating the Washington Capitals on Monday, the Arizona Coyotes are the first team since World War II to have won against the last 6 Stanley Cup champions, like 6 previous seasons of Stanley Cup champions in 5 games. So because Tampa won the 2 in a row, whatever. And they also currently sit in a wild card like playoff position as well in the Western Conference. It hasn't happened since 1945 when the Leafs did it. And also at that time, just keep in mind, the league only had 6 teams, so that's like winning, like, oh wow, you played 5 different opponents and won 5 games in a row. Big whoop. But yeah, so I'm like thinking like, okay, so they beat, and it was in order too. And that's the big thing, is that it was in order. So I want to know who at the NHL office is scheduling the Arizona Coyotes to play
Probably
in a row: Vegas, Avs, Tampa, St. Louis, Washington.
I think probably someone who wanted to laugh at them losing.
And then they come and they win.
Instead, we get the fucking Kerfoot revenge tour.
And yeah, instead, like, I don't know, instead we get you absolutely wiping the floor with me on Monday in fantasy. Yeah, because
that was
you
have
Kerfoot and I had fucking Ovechkin and John Carlson. It's not great. I had 4 guys playing that night, and 2 of them were on the Capitals. And I'm still trying to figure out a way for me to get rid of Ovechkin at this point, because unless he starts firing off shots, I can't drop him. I don't know what's with the rules in our league, in our fantasy league, is I can't drop Ovechkin as much as I want to. Yeah, so I could pick up a better forward, or at least reactivate like some Shabbat from LTIR, but maybe I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe it's a good thing I didn't drop a defenseman to reactivate Shabbat right now. But yeah, me and Marcie are against each other in fantasy this week, so tensions are tight. It's a fun one. It's like the one in every like.
It's tense for you. I'm sitting quite comfortably.
Oh, I know I'm losing this week, and I don't know what's going on. I think Zach Hyman had a really good night last night against Carolina. That is serving me quite well. He gave me a nice 4.2 points or something like that. So
6.7 points from Zach Hyman last night.
Okay, well when I checked at 8:30, it was 4.2. So
Stuart Skinner 9.8. This is why I believe in the Oilers goalies.
And I have Samsonov. My goalie tandem of Shesterkin and Samsonov have been letting me down this season. I thought I was sitting really nice getting Shesterkin. No. I don't know what's going on. Why? And then there's Marcie with Joseph Wool and Stuart Skinner.
Who have I got on my goalies?
Yeah, right. You have 4. I
have 4 goalies. I've got. I picked up Cam Talbot the other week because I got rid of someone.
Jack Campbell?
It's because I got rid of Jack Campbell. Which I want him back. I need him back.
Hey, Oilers, you're playing really well right now. Why don't you go on? Well,
bring him back.
Yeah, we're getting off topic about the Arizona Coyotes. Got talking about fantasy, and now Marcie's pulling up her roster. But yeah, so I mean, it's people like to shit on the Arizona Coyotes, which at the same time you also have to think. I'm thinking it's unfortunate that they play in a small arena, because the energy in Mullet Arena, from what I've seen from videos and heard from people who've gone to games. I've never been to a game in Arizona. I've never been to Arizona in general. Is apparently it's very good. Apparently it's very high energy, and I think what helps is that it's always sold out because of how small the arena is, right? It's 5,000 seats, but I think if they keep playing like that, I think it's gonna bring a lot of focus to the team, and I think a lot of people are now gonna be, not as quick to dismiss the Coyotes and Arizona hockey in general. I mean, think of the players that they've produced recently, and it feels like every new young good American forward is coming out of Phoenix. You look and you're like, I wonder where this guy's from, and then it's Phoenix, Arizona. Obviously you have Austin Matthews, and Tage Thompson's from Arizona as well, right? But you got Matthew Nyes, and there's quite a couple other guys as well. I feel like if we looked up a list of guys of NHLers from Arizona, there'd be quite a large list. Some other Arizona news as well, besides, we just wanted to tip our hat to them for, doing something historic. They had the chance to knock off the next 2 Stanley Cup winners when they play Pittsburgh on the 9th. So just eventually, like if they beat, eventually they will get down to like, but it's not in order, but they did schedule. That's just the way the schedule lies. Other piece of Arizona news, the Arizona Coyotes ownership group is also working on finalizing the purchase of a piece of land in Phoenix for a new arena. That's exciting. I think for sure, like them getting a new arena, it's going to be a very nice arena. I feel like all the new ones are, from what I've heard. Again, haven't been to any of them. I don't travel much out to the West Coast. Flights are expensive, but yeah. So hopefully they get this sorted out, because it would be great to be able to get more people in to see Coyotes games, and it'll be good for the team for sure to have a place of their own that's their own facility that's not just borrowed from a university. And I think it also will be good for the league as well to get a team in a proper barn for sure. Let's do some trade news though. So yesterday, this is not even really that. I just want to think about like the insanity of this conditional pick for sure. So, the Columbus Blue Jackets have traded forward Eric Robinson to Buffalo for a conditional 7th round pick in the 2025 draft. Robinson had in the NHL this season played 7 games, 1 goal, 0 assist, and then also in the AHL with the Blue Jackets affiliate has played 9 games, scored 1 goal and 3 assists, has a $1.6 million cap hit. And the only way, the conditional offer, you would think it's something to do with where teams finish in the draft order, depending on that. No. The only way that the Columbus Blue Jackets will receive the pick is if the Buffalo Sabres play Robinson in more than 45 games this season. So the Sabres have something like 56-ish games left. So Robinson has to play most of those games in order for the Columbus Blue Jackets to get this pick. So if I was the Sabres, not gonna lie, I'd have him play 44.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh no, we've got to the last game of the season and he's only played 44. Oh, what a shame that he's not available to play.
Healthy scratch. Like, yeah, it's definitely a very obvious cap dump on the Blue Jackets, especially considering underperforming and you're paying him $1.6 million.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But I think that's, I don't know about you, but I never have really seen a conditional pick like that. Usually it's something about, if a team finishes if they finish where they have like the top 10, like they finish in the top 10 of the draft order, then that pick goes to the next year, or like they can pick what year it goes to, if like something like that, like, right?
But no,
usually that's the way conditional picks work. This is like, no. Buffalo has to, like, depending on how many games he plays for Buffalo, it depends on. And if I was Buffalo, I'd be like, well, I don't want to, like, yes, it's a 7th round pick, whatever. We've seen some really amazing guys come out of the 7th round. Still, like, it's not like it's like, oh, it's a nothing pick, right? It's still a pick. I'm trying to think. A pick. It's something you can spend as a team, even if whether it be you spend it at the draft and you make a selection, or if you trade it and for other things, right?
Yeah.
And them having the power to be like, no, we can play him how many games we want, so we can play him 44, but we still have to carry his cap. Why are you?
It's just Samsonov will not be backing up Martin Jones's tonight.
Oh. Oh, he's sick.
Yeah, girlies.
So because we don't release these episodes with video. The podcast doesn't have video as of right now, because we enjoy filming in our pajamas. I'm fully dressed, but I also have wet hair. But I showered this morning. But so Marcie's eyes just went real wide, and I was like, oh, that usually means something. But yeah, so I guess Martin Jones will be getting the backup. Joseph, that ultimately, end of the day, confirms Joseph will start.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm sitting in my Joseph Wool jersey. I'm like, I don't have to leave for another like 3-4 hours for the game, I'm sitting here fully dressed in my Joseph Wool jersey, ready to go. And now I won't look crazy when I show up to the arena in my Joseph. Because I went to a preseason game. I went to a league preseason game this year and I wore my Joseph Wool jersey. He wasn't even in Ottawa that game. Like, I'm pretty sure, I think it was Petruzzelli and Hildeby who were like the goalies, I think, for that game. I can't remember now. It was like not even like Samsonov was there. Yeah. But it was like, yeah. And now I think people are like, what is she doing like with the kid who's played all of 13 goals, 13 games last season, right? Split between. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Now it's the number one starter. There was a very, I was like, do we talk about the article? We're going to talk about the article. There was an article written today in The Athletic about Joseph Wool. And it was like one of those like stereotypical athletic like puff pieces where you're like, okay. And it just makes you love him even more. I did tweet about it, and then I had to mute the tweet because it was getting so many likes, and I was like, these notifications are driving me insane. But Joseph Wool is a Lego guy. He's also a Star Wars guy. And I would love to get him on the podcast. And not even to ask him about hockey, just so we could talk like Star Wars with him specifically. I want to know if he's like ever like if he's has like the Millennium Falcon set, or like if he wants to build the Death Star or something like that's what I want to ask him. I want to ask him if like has he like if he doesn't already, is he going to buy the Lego Death Star?
This is real hard hitting journalism here.
This is real sports journalism. It is asking Joseph Wool if he wants to build the Lego Death Star, if he hasn't already.
And then if he doesn't,
I also want to give him. Yeah, I wanted to just give him props for having to move like his giant Lego, like Star Wars, like 6,000 piece half built set from St. Louis to Toronto. I want to give him props for moving that, because Lego is not easy to move with. As someone who's moved like 3 times with Lego, I've had to move Lego like 3 times in my life. It's not easy. Like fully built sets, not easy. I've lost pieces every single time. Nothing has stayed together. I've always had to rebuild things. That's why I hold on to the instructions to everything, like all my Lego sets. But yeah, I do want to give him props for that. But yeah, it's a really interesting, fascinating article from The Athletic. I tweeted about it. Marcie tweeted about it. It's not hard to find. It doesn't just talk about his love for Lego. It does also talk about like where a lot of his mentality and stuff comes from. And I think it's really, really fascinating to read and to see where like how he thinks as a player, for sure. It's always interesting. Goalies are so weird, and I love reading about goalies, because it's like, they're just like weird little guys who, decide they want to stop pucks, for sure. And also just he like there was a little bit at the end where it was like talked about how he is thinking about coming back to social media so he can share his music, in which case I say do it. I say go for it. Share your music. We'd love to hear.
I had just woken up, and I mean just like the first thing I do when I wake up is I check Twitter, because it's like
see what I sent you. I see what I've sent you throughout the night.
So it's like I scroll through like the important stuff, and then I see you've like obviously I must have like retweeted something, because then you tagged me in the group chat. You were like, come here, and I was like, oh god, what have you done? And then like literally less than 2 minutes after waking up, I'm reading that article, and my mind, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And then I wanted to like just cry for a bit, because I was like, oh.
Yeah, and it's also the article it's really great. It also talks a lot about how he models a lot of his game and his mentality after Carey Price, and who as someone who was forced to watch a lot of Habs games as a kid. Like I grew up a Leafs fan, but I have a cousin. My dad's a Habs fan, notably. Grew up in Toronto, Habs fan. And my cousin's also a Habs fan as well because he was a goalie, became a goalie because of Carey Price. Loved watching Carey Price. Carey Price was his favorite goalie growing up playing hockey as a goalie. So obviously watched a lot of Habs games, watched a lot of Carey Price clips over the years. So for sure, like it's really interesting, and you can see the similarities in just how they're so calm in the crease and very deliberate with their movements, and not those big explosive crazy goalies, aka like what Jack Campbell was like when he was with the Leafs. Like it's so fascinating to go back and you watch like old Jack Campbell highlights. Not even like old, like it was like not that long ago that he was with the team, but you watch like a Jack Campbell highlights pack and then you watch like a Joseph Woll, and they're two very different style of goalies, and it's just those are the things I do in my free time is I just look and like compare goalies that played for the Leafs.
You do that. I think I watched a video yesterday on like the history of goalie masks, and I was like,
can you send me the link to that?
Yeah, it was, oh my god,
later,
it was actually
please.
So interesting. It was so good. I'll find it after this and send it to you.
Okay. All right. Well, let's quit talking Leafs. As much as I would love to sit here and chat Joseph Woll for another hour, we do have to talk about the Board of Governor meetings that were this past week. So there was a couple of big things that came out of the Board of Governors meetings. One of them being that the salary cap is to increase by a considerable amount for next season. It was announced by Gary Bettman that the salary cap for 2024-2025 season will be $87.7 million. This is based off of the revenue of the previous season, which is and it's a $4.2 million increase from the current 83.5. That will cover Nylander's extension.
They did it for us. You know who else did it for? They did it for Sidney Crosby.
They did it for they did it for Sidney Crosby.
I bet he read that this morning and he just like sits there just like grinning to himself. He's like, haha.
Yes. But I think it's great. Like obviously though, with it going up this much, and it's also like the increase is always based on league revenue, right? And now I feel like we're gonna see it stay around here and not increase by a huge amount for a couple of seasons at least, just because of the fact that we're now seeing a decrease in revenue this season due to a lot of the regional broadcasters like Bally Sports going under and stopping their operations, and teams like Vegas having to create their own streaming service so that people can watch their games and things like that. So I think of course we can't, it would be really nice to see sort of the NHL and their salary cap catch up to leagues like the NBA, because the NBA, you look at what guys who sit on the bench and maybe play, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes a night. Again, I'm not a huge basketball person. I have very specific knowledge of about 3 seasons of the Raptors. From 2017 to 2019, I know that about the Raptors, and whatever Simon tells me, and I managed to retain information.
Yeah, I know that Troy Bolton founded that.
Yeah, but I think the salary cap does have to go up. Players are wanting to get paid more money, and teams are wanting to be able to play because they deserve to get paid more. The entire people are like, oh, is this player, people talk about individual players being overpaid, underpaid, whatever. You think of people are thinking like, okay, Matthews making $13 million next season is an overpay. I'm like, no. If anything, it's an underpay because the entire league is underpaid, right? For what they do. Sorry to basketball fans out there. Hockey's a much more physically taxing sport than basketball is in terms of the impact it has on your body. Again, I don't know if there's any crossover
when
there.
you've got, I don't know what the average NBA salary is, but
it's high. You'll Google it and you'll be like, what the fuck is this shit? Because I think also because it's not Marcie just Googled what the average NBA salary is. What is it, Marcie? Tell the people.
It says the average of nearly 10.8 million.
10.8 million. How many?
That's the first thing that came up.
Yeah, 10. That sounds about right. That being the average is 10. And think about how many, like, when a player gets paid double digit, like, you know, tens of million, like, gets into the tens of millions of dollars, like, gets past the $10 million mark. That's like superstar status in the NHL.
You
know, like a player getting paid more than $10 million a year. That's like, oh, that's an elite superstar player.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's the salary we associate with, like, the Cale Makars and Nathan McKinnons, Sidney Crosby. I think Sidney Crosby's actually under, like, I think he's not as high as people think he is because he signed a salary years ago. But yeah, and then for context, the average NHL salary is $3.5 million a year. Their schedules are very similar. And the reason why we're comparing the NBA to the NHL is because they play the same number of games. So it will serve us nothing to compare the MLB to the NHL because they play about double the games in a season. So
I'm just like, I'm not being funny. If you're being paid on average 10.8 million to, like, bounce the ball and
run
some hoops,
run,
and then you've got Joseph Wall, who is getting paid $766,000,
which is a bargain of a contract because he's under that for one more year.
Yeah, he's got to the end of next season on that.
Bargain of a contract.
And then he's going to become a Leafs legend.
Way to go, Kyle Dubas.
Oh yeah, and then he's going to become a Leafs legend, and he's going to be a Leaf for life, just like Morgan Riley.
Because we say it.
Yeah,
Leaf for life. I guess Mitch Marner now too, probably with his no moved clause kicking in as well as probably.
Oh yeah, Mitch Marner is like, he's not going anywhere. Will he take the
Jason Spezza discount?
Yes.
He has to sign his next contract. Take the Jason Spezza, the Mark Giordano like discount, where it's like, say what Spezza said in his past couple seasons of the Leafs of like, because I think that like his last season, I guess he had to be put on waivers once or something, and I think he said like, it's like, if I get claimed off waivers, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
It's like, because he's like, I want to retire as a Leaf, which like.
But you know, it's so real.
And now he's in Pittsburgh with Kyle, so.
Oh, how the turntables.
But yeah, some other things to come out of that Board of Governors meeting. The draft is headed to Vegas. It was made official that the 2024 entry draft will be held inside the Sphere in Las Vegas. You can tell by the join my voice how I think that's a brilliant idea. It's the last.
To happen.
The draft will be June 28th to the 29th. So mark those dates on your calendar. I don't know. We're probably going to be doing something special for the draft. We haven't. That's like 6 months from now. We haven't discussed that in any official capacity.
Me and my friends are already. My friends were like, yesterday, were like, when's the draft? And then they're all gonna, because that's like after our uni years ended. They're like, they want to do a draft party at my house. And they said, it was really funny because she was like, oh, we're gonna go like all full American. We're gonna have hot dogs and beer and like massive bowls of like crisps and stuff.
Yeah, but so it's also the last draft before it's decentralized. So turn into something similar to the NBA format where we get to watch 2 hours of Gary Bettman shaking hands with 18-year-olds. So for those who don't know what that means because they don't watch the NBA draft, essentially it's all of the individual GMs and all of their teams are not where the draft is being held. They are back in their respective offices across North America, and they call in with their draft picks from their little war rooms in the front, in the team's offices, right? In some boardroom with a giant whiteboard, they call in and they're like, similar to like what Kyle Dubas's office looked like in the in the Amazon documentary, where it's that giant whiteboard with all the players on like magnets. Yeah, something similar to that, but it's a giant table, like conference room. And they'll call in, and Gary Bettman will announce it, something like that. I'm not a fan of that. I get why NHL executive, like team front office staff, want to go to that format, because it takes out the travel from right around when free agency starts, because free agency starts usually July 1st. So they don't have to do that travel while also trying to, sign players. But at the same time, there is something that's really special about those pictures with, the full teams, and having to, and taking the picture, and the kid, and he's got putting his jersey on, and it's got like, he's shaking the hands of, head coaches there usually, like the whole scouting staff is usually, the GM is there. Instead, no, it's just going to be him and Gary Bettman on a stage. And I watched the NBA draft this past year, or at least I watched most of the first round, because Simon was like, oh, you should watch it if you've got nothing going on. So I did. And it was okay. I didn't find it as fun to watch, because it was really boring, honestly. And it was just a lot of looking at the commissioner of the league, and I kind of don't want to look at Gary Bettman for 2 hours.
No, like, I think the only thing that's like gonna get me through it is just like, we get to watch a lot of people make Gary Bettman look really fucking short.
That's the thing, where it was like, it's gonna be a lot of like these 18-year-old kids making Gary Bettman look tiny,
which I'm so here for.
So excited. But yeah, so but yeah, Garrett, like, he's, I don't know, that was what was funny too about the NBA draft, is all these like 18, 19-year-old kids making the commissioner of, I can't remember what his name, I think it's like Adam Silver or something like that, making him, who's, by the way, he's like 6'2" and played basketball in college, look really short. like look really short, because they're all like 5, they're all like 6, 7 minimum. It's ridiculous. That's like, they're all, but that, like, I don't know. I didn't like it. It wasn't as fun to watch. I find it's always fun to watch like the GMs and stuff on their phones. It's how we get like great memes too. Yeah. Like, it's how we get the Kyle Dubas 2 phones meme, like, that he had. That was his I think it still is, actually. That's his like profile picture on like Twitter, is him with the 2 phones. I don't know if it still is. It was when he was with the Leafs, and then I don't know if he's changed it since he's gone to Pittsburgh. But like,
he has changed it.
He has changed it. What's it now?
It's just him with a microphone. I'll turn my brightness down because it's quite. No.
It's just him with a microphone in Pittsburgh. See,
it's not as fun. Like, where's the drama? And also, I just think it makes it so much less personal. It's like, oh, you've been drafted, now you get to like meet everyone that's like in charge of the team you're gonna go play for.
Even if it's only briefly, but also it's like having, and it's also the same thing too, where it's like teams brought former players and stuff to announce picks, right? They do it, and like, even when the draft was virtual in 2020, and I think 2021 also virtual, or was that just reduced capacity? I can't remember, but I do remember 2020 it was virtual, and Ottawa Senators, to select their first pick of the draft, got the late Alex Trebek, who spent a lot of time in Ottawa. He's a alumni at the university I went to, that I go to. But they got him to read the pick. Right? So it's like, teams do that, and when you take that away, like, it's not as fun. And it's special hearing, like, I don't know. Also, when you make edits now and you want to use like clips from like drafts and stuff, it's going to be really awful to have Gary Bettman in every single one.
Like, do you know how bad that's going to be for me? I'm going to suffer. Like, every single edit I do includes the draft announcement.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I know, that's the thing. Or it's like Gary. Anyways, we're just going to have to look at Gary Bettman a whole lot more, which kind of sucks. But I also it's in the Sphere, which like I guess the team I know the league's gonna have to spend so much money to be able to rent that out, but I don't know. I feel like, anyways, I'm someone who, yes, change is good, and people are gonna be like, well, Emma, you're just like one of those like old like men on Twitter who don't like change. I'm like, change is good, but also change, it has to be good change, and I do like think that, you know, having it in the Sphere, like, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It also, I'm just like, I'm so sick of watching like, you know, kitschy Vegas like things just to make things look flashy. Like I watched like, think of like, no, not to get so off track that we're talking about another different sport on a hockey podcast, but the four-wheel, like the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which Marcie doesn't watch. I'm just talking about sports that Marcie doesn't watch.
Go for it. I'm just
but the Las Vegas Grand Prix was, you know, it was meant to be like, oh, look, you know, Vegas is all bright, flashy lights, whatever, and it, you know, they had the Sphere going, whatever, and it was all these things that just like tried to make it into like a spectacle, and at the same time, it like took away from what it, you know, having an F1 race is actually about. And I feel like if you do all these things for a draft, it's going to take away from what a draft actually is, which is, for a lot of these young 18-year-old kids, maybe the biggest day of their entire life, for sure. Like, you know, it's the biggest day of their life up to this moment, right? You know, probably, if you ask, I don't know, some of these guys where it's like, was the draft the biggest day of your life? Now they'd be like, no, my wedding was, but, or like whatever, like the birth of my kid was, but winning a Stanley. But like up when they're 18 years old, you know, up until that point, like the draft is the biggest day of their life. And it's a huge point where it's like a decision about your future is not being made for you. And at the end of the day, you have to remember that. Also, what are a bunch of 18-year-old kids gonna do in Vegas?
Exactly. It's like not a lot.
There's not a lot for them to do there. And it's like, well, yeah, but like at least when it was in Nashville, it was like kind of fun. They could probably find something to do. I don't know. But I'm like, they're gonna stay in their hotel the whole time. And because you can't do anything in Vegas. I have no desire to go to Vegas. But
I don't think you can like walk around under the age of 21 at this point. It's like,
I know, I'm like, could you even like, anyways, enough about Vegas. There's one more thing that came out of the Board of Governors meeting. This is from a Chris Johnson tweet. I gotta pull it up. Here we go. That I accidentally sent twice. It's regarding the Olympics and the World Cup of Hockey. So regarding the NHL players playing in the Olympics, Gary Bettman said construction hasn't begun on the arena needed for the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. He calls it a matter of some concern because usually the usual way it goes is the arena, if an arena has to get built for the Olympics, which most times it does, it is finished a year before the Olympics so that they have time to host some events and do some testing, and if something needs to get changed or whatever, they have time to do that. According with the current timeline that's being set in place, according to Gary Bettman, it won't be finished until like it was like 4 to 6 weeks or something before the games actually start, which concern.
Not ideal.
Which, if there's, you know, not an arena built, how do you play hockey in the Olympics? Like, do you get rid of the events straight up? Which, if you get rid of hockey at the Winter Olympics, outrage. And even like I would love NHL players to go back to the Olympics because it's best on, like, players love playing for the Olympics, and not to be all like, oh, Canada, you know, best in hockey, but to get the best, truly the best, to play against the best, the Olympics is the best way to do that. And also, one of my like earliest childhood memories is watching Sidney Crosby score the golden goal in 2010. So, and think about it, like, also when you think about it this way, Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby have never played on the same team together, ever. Like, they never have. Not even like at All-Star games. I mean, there's a chance this year with the player draft but that would be cool, but they've never played on the same team together because NHL players have not gone to the Olympics since 2014. They didn't even go 2018. Did they? No, they didn't. But
No.
For sure. And then also, but before the 2026 Olympics, the NHL is trying to play in a World Cup in a best on best format to take place in February 2025 in season using NHL players. It would consist of 4 teams: Canada, US, Sweden, and Finland, across multiple locations. And it would be a preview of a best on best for a sort of format for a full 2028 World Cup. Cool. But the only thing I'm saying is it's like multiple, like, because we heard about this like a couple days ago, about rumors about this. Like Elliot Friedman was talking about this, I think like a week ago or so.
Yeah.
He said like it would be like one in Europe, one like for like, one location would be in Europe, one location would be in the US, which I think like if you're gonna use NHL players and you're gonna have the Finland, and it's gonna be best on best, and it's gonna be Finland and Sweden, you're going to have to make them all go over to Europe to play a couple games when most of those teams already are, like, most of those players on those teams are already in North America playing in the NHL. I think it's kind of dumb. But that's based on that information. Maybe it's changed. Maybe they're like, oh, it'll just be in, like, multiple North American cities. But I think that'll be fun to watch. It definitely it'll be cool. It'll be in season. It'll be in February.
I personally think they should hold the Hockey World Cup in Manchester. Whatsoever, definitely.
At the one hockey arena that you guys have.
He wants to grow the game. This is how you grow the game in a 1,600 capacity ice rink. Yeah,
I mean, hey, Mr. Bettman, if you're listening to this.
Have I got some ideas for you?
But yeah, it'll be some. I don't know how I feel. Like, yes, it'll be fun to watch best on best. It always is. And I think you think about a lot of the guys, like, in terms of watching the best on best at a national, like, we get it for the guys who make it to the NHL. We get it with World Juniors, right? And those are always fun. I love watching World Juniors. Especially just considering how Canada's done the past couple of them. But Connor Bedard's a national hero for a reason already. But I like, and then they don't really get right now, they don't really get another opportunity as it stands with what they can do. Like Connor McDavid hasn't gotten an opportunity to really play and represent Canada until, like, he hasn't since he was at the World Juniors.
Yeah.
Right? So to give those guys who grew up, watching, especially because we're starting to get to the time now where it's like a lot of those kids really wanted to become hockey players because they watched Sidney Crosby, Golden Goal, watched it, were like, oh my God, he's like whatever. And now they play with him. And I think also just there's a lot of guys who you really want to represent, like you want to give them the opportunity to represent their country one more time. Yeah. Because for a lot of, like, Sidney Crosby, he's getting older, right? Which I don't like thinking about, but
like, we just push that to the back of our minds.
Oh my God! Like, Christine Sinclair played her last game on Monday for Team Canada, and I was like feeling all sorts of things. I was like, this is something else, because I grew up watching her play soccer, and number 12 was always a really fought over number when I was playing house league soccer. Everyone wanted to be number 12 because of her. So I'm going to keep calling it soccer. Marcie's so unimpressed. She's like, stop. It's like, I keep calling it's soccer. Football is the one that has the oval ball. I don't know how else. Yeah.
Shit,
rugby. I don't know. Yeah. Do we have anything else to talk about? I mean, I'm trying to, hold on. I got to go back and look at what else we have. Oh yeah, I guess we can also say this as well.
Oh yeah.
What do we got? Oh, Patrick Kane is due to make his debut for the Red Wings tonight versus the Sharks.
Yeah.
I'm
overjoyed.
See, yeah, we really didn't want to have to talk about it again. We're talking about it again just to say that, you know, if you wanted, I don't know, watch a game, watch the Leafs game tonight. I think that's going to be way more enjoyable than watching Patrick Kane.
Oh, yeah.
You know what?
Hockey. I hope Justin Hall, despite being on the same team, absolutely just fucking rocks his shit.
Hey, isn't there that clip of him, like, there's those clips of him falling over on top of multiple players. One of him and Giordano colliding?
Yeah, it's like, bring it back, but, like, bigger.
Well, yesterday was a big day for Justin Hall. The 1-year anniversary since he decided to throw a puck versus Dallas.
Oh, what a time.
Oh, God.
It was an international holiday for me.
Like, it's, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't even think he knows what he was thinking. That was just one of those things where it's like, what goes?
You know, I hope he throws the puck again tonight, but, like, directly at Patrick Kane's face, and it, like...
Oh, yeah.
Not to wish violence upon anyone, but...
No, because that's bad. I guess also because we have some more news as well that we can just throw out. I'm, like, looking at what time we're at, and I'm like, we still only have one more story left. But Tuukka Rask is in as an e-bug for the Boston Bruins because Jeremy Swayman is out with illness, and there's a little like pessimistic Leafs fan part of me that loves just to get hurt, that was like, kind of wish, you know, not that I would wish Jeremy Swayman, like, him to be sick, but it would be I would have laughed, honestly, if it was like it was Saturday that they needed him to be the e-bug and fucking Tuukka Rask was the e-bug against the Leafs, because, you know, it's there's some way where he would end up going in the game, like, just because that's how the Leafs work, and, you know, it would just become like self-torture, self-induced torture to watch Tuukka Rask play. Like, yeah, we've watched Tuukka Rask play against the Leafs his entire career, but it's just one of those things to come in as an e-bug and to be like, well, this is the guy you drafted. But I'm like refreshing Leafs media, but I'm like,
I mean, we've got Chicken Nugget.
Oh, we've got Chicken Nugget story. I'm so excited to talk about this Chicken Nugget story, just so we have an excuse to call the episode Chicken Nuggets. If you want to know, like, what the conversations are like between me and Marcie when we're trying to decide what to name podcast episodes, it usually goes something like this. We try to have a name before we record, which usually doesn't always happen. But a lot of times we will make sure to mention stories or bring things up so that we can call a podcast a certain thing. Now, there's a story that, do you want to start with it? I have a bunch of actual player names and team names and stuff if you want me to go with it.
Because I went back to try and find the tweet and it disappeared, so I'm like...
Well, I have it all written down.
All right, you want to...
I did research. I found out what teams were playing and everything. So, in an ECHL game between the Toledo Walleye and the Kalamazoo Wings, Red Wings prospect and Toledo Walleye player Kirill Tutayev, I think that's how you say it. It's Russian. He's Russian, and I'm not great with Russian names, unfortunately. Received a 10-minute misconduct for shooting a chicken nugget back into the stands after a fan threw it over the glass onto the ice. The decision from the refs. There was a lovely Scouting the Refs article that I found that stated kind of like why they gave him the penalties that they did. So the referee under Rule 39.4, which States misconduct penalty shall be assessed under this rule for the following infractions. A misconduct penalty or game misconduct penalty at the discretion of the referee shall be imposed on any player who deliberately throws any equipment out of the playing area. So are we counting chicken nuggets as equipment now?
Equipment.
like what? Like, so what that's what I'm understanding out of this. It's like apparently now chicken nuggets are equipment because I guess like I get it. Like, hey, don't shoot shit. Like, don't shoot shit back into the stands. It's kind of a general rule of thumb that players should follow. But also I think it's really funny that there's not a rule that says can't shoot anything back into the stands, which is interesting that it's not you can't shoot anything back into the stands. It's just you can't shoot equipment. So then now, in order for him to be given that 10-game misconduct, we're counting chicken nuggets as hockey equipment, which
apparently
I don't know. I think it's funny. Like I've never seen that before. I've never seen I've never seen a chicken nugget thrown onto the ice in general. But I've never seen
a lot.
No.
And as well, I just want to say I've just found that Kirill Chuchyev, which I think is how you pronounce his name. Yeah, I think so. This is a 7th round 2019 pick by the Detroit Red Wings, current home of puck thrower Justin Hall. Which I think is just perfect.
Current home of puck thrower and noted Leafs noted former Leafs bottom line blorbo Zach Aston Reese.
Oh, I miss that.
I miss him. He actually had a really good game against the Marlies the other night.
Oh.
Picked up a couple of assists, yeah. But yeah, it's like he just shoots it. It's like, I'm sorry, the video is hilarious. It's so funny.
Oh, it's
but it's like after a face off, someone throws it on the ice.
All right, here's a look at
But yeah, it's just slings it over the glass.
It's just like tumbles on.
I know, it's so funny. Because we had a lot of conversation after we recorded on Monday talking about him. I just got this Sportsnet notification. If you are done with the Leafs game and you want to watch another game later that night, Flames and Hurricanes play at 9 p.m. today. It's going to say that Flames Dustin Wolf is going to start. Noted baby goalie Dustin Wolf.
Yes! Oh my god, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I know this is a bit of an all over episode, but me and Marcie were like, because we got the call up because Markstrom is hurt with a broken hand, so they called up Dustin Wolf and he will get the start today. So if you want to watch some baby goalies in action, you can get a double header essentially of watching the Leafs game, Leafs versus Sens, and then watching Flames versus Canes, which are coming off of a really rough game with versus Edmonton, in which Rod Brind'Amour had a really rough quote to say when they were down 5-0. I'm trying to find it. I don't have it. There we go. He had a rough quote to say, and I can't find it, but it was like something about saying it's like, oh, we might as well. They were down like 5-0, and he said, I think it was in between periods. He said, oh, we might as well be down 50. We're like part way to being down 50-0 because of the way that we were playing. I was like, shh. which is interesting considering how, like, going into the season, the Hurricanes were looked at to, you know, be Stanley Cup contenders. And now they sit. No, they're still they still sit second in the Metro. Like, it's not like they're, you know, that it's that crazy of a possibility for them to not make the playoffs. But some games you watch them and you're like, they don't, like, it's like they're so up and down with it. They either play really well or they play awful. And so it's interesting, but it's also, you know, Oilers are coming back. But
yeah.
All right, I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. This was a bit of an all over episode for us, but
it's been all over the place.
This is what happens when we don't have a Leafs game to structure our episode around.
Nightmare.
We talk about all over. This is like just us recording.
Nugget.
We talk about chicken nuggets. Now I want chicken nuggets, and I don't have any in my apartment. And I went grocery shopping yesterday, so I know.
I just got a notification from Robbie Stanley, who's quoting Tyson Barrie, who's not having a brilliant few days.
Oh.
The whole, like, trade and stuff.
Okay.
He said, Tyson Barrie said, well, if we're getting into it, I'm in the stands, so it doesn't really feel like a great fit. My goal is to be playing hockey, whether that's here or somewhere else, is up for the powers that be to decide. And then we've got more conversation, Barrie and, like, conversations with Adam Brunette. It was obviously disappointing for me and tough, but they were respectful, so we both have respect for each other as people and human beings. It was never contentious. Eye to eye on some of the X's and O's, but nothing crazy. And then on how he's played, we've got a lot of Tyson Barrie content right now. I feel like I've had some good moments and then some pretty mediocre, so I understand where they're coming from. It's a tough one for me. First time in a long time since this has happened. I don't know. I'm trying not to really air it out in the media. Oh, Tyson.
Yeah, because I think that's unfortunate. Because I think the news that the team has, the Predators have allowed him to speak with other teams to look for a trade or to look for something to sign, a team to sign with next season. It was not supposed to get out. Like, the team didn't want that news to get out, and so it was leaked. But then the team, I think someone with the team said, but it didn't come from us, and it must have come from someone on Barry's side, and so maybe it was somewhere with his agent or something. That's what people were saying. But they, like, the Predators didn't want that to come out, and they didn't like that news came out. But it's it's unfortunate to see that he is not, it seems like he's not enjoying I don't want to say he's not enjoying, because I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it looks like his time in Nashville is not what he wanted it to be compared to the other places where he's played, because he's never said anything quite like that about the Avs or about the Leafs or about Edmonton. Right? Yeah. And Nashville seemed like a great fit for him last year. Right? So it's unfortunate. I don't know if that means we'll see him traded within the next couple months or at the deadline, or if which is until March. It's like a Friday. I have to work that day. That'll be fun. Or if it'll be something where it's, he plays out the rest of the season with Nashville and he signs somewhere else where he wants to go in July at free agency and something, because he's still young. He's not old. He's like 31. Yeah, he's 32. So he's still got a lot of career to play left, and so I think for sure it's something. It's not, both sides are looking to move on. And there was even a quote from Barry Trotz, the GM of the Predators, saying that I don't want you to come here to retire. meaning, I don't want this to be where you sign, that last contract, you play to see it out, right? Where it's like, I want you to still be playing competitive hockey when you're here. And it wasn't a very nice quote, I don't think, from Barry Trotz. I'm just looking at an article from Daily Faith, the Daily Face Off, where it was, he's not happy with Tyson Barrie. It's like saying, here we go, Tyson's game hasn't translated well. Oh my god, my phone keeps buzzing. Tyson's game hasn't translated as well as he'd liked with us this year. Still having a tough time being on the power play unit. So the other night he was healthy scratched for the first time in his career. I didn't realize that was the first time in his career he's been healthy scratched. Different players react to it differently. I didn't like the way he reacted it. Probably wasn't happy about it. Through 22 games with the Predators this season, Barrie has managed just 9 points. Oh, I know, because he's on my fantasy team. As a news, Elliot Freeman reported that Barrie's camp has been granted permission by the Predators to seek a trade. Barrie is set to become an UFA next summer. Trotz didn't refute Friedman's report, but he was certainly unhappy that it became public knowledge. We were very disappointed it got out because there's only about 4 people in the world that knew about it. I was very disappointed that it didn't come from the Preds. I do that know that 100%. So probably those 4 people are him, whoever maybe the head coach of the Predators, maybe. I don't know if he would be involved in those discussions. Tyson Barrie and his agent. So it obviously came from either Tyson Barrie himself or his agent, right?
Yeah.
Obviously someone felt that it should be out there, and they put it out there. We will get it on the phones and say, Tyson's not happy in a situation right now. Are there any takers? There might be, might not. And I'm sure him and his agent will be doing the same thing. Barrie also didn't play in Sunday's game against the Buffalo Sabres, which the Predators won by a 2-1 score. It's unclear whether he'll draw in the lineup for Tuesday's game against the Chicago Blackhawks. But yeah, so it's just an unfortunate situation for any player to be in, I feel like. Definitely something, for people to keep an eye out. It's one of those situations where you look and, if these sorts of conversations are happening, maybe something's going to get starting to move. It all depends on if there's any teams out there who want to take him, right? So I don't know where he would fit as well. Like, that's another thing where I don't know. I don't know where he would go if there's any place that really could need a defenseman. I guess maybe the Leafs. Like, he could come back here. That's an option.
Bring him home.
He's known to enjoy the environment here. Now, is it the same environment that it was when he was with the Leafs? Because, the general manager, that front office staff for the most is new. And a lot of the defense is different. It's, if I just, you take a look at when it was with the Leafs for one season, you look at the lovely list of people, of like players who are on the team and like some of the defensemen who are here, and it's like the only one who's still the only 2 defensemen who are still on the team with the Leafs when they were here when they were here when he played with the Leafs in 1920, that season, is Timothy Liljegren and Morgan Riley. Like, everyone else is gone. It's only like you look at like that, like, and then you look through the list and you're like, nope, not here, not here, not here, gone. Like the goalies that we had were Jack Campbell, Michael Hutchinson, who is now with the Grand Prix, he's now with Detroit in their AHL affiliate, Grand Rapids, and Frederick Anderson.
Wow. That's insane.
So would he fit in with the defense here when, if you're making a trade now in the next couple of weeks, you don't have a timeline yet for Liljegren, so he's not going to be playing with. You wouldn't necessarily maybe want to put him on the top line with Riley. So it's about who he fits with guys he's never played with, right? Who knows? It's not to say that he's going to go to the Leafs. Like, we're not Elliot Friedman here. We're just thinking like that's a something where it's like he played for your season if you want him to go to somewhere like that. But again, he could go. There's 30 other teams he could go to.
He's got options.
He's got options, and it's also about which teams want to make a trade for him.
Yeah.
I don't really see if he is traded for if not necessarily like a player will be included in that trade, because it sounds like the Preds are pretty okay with just scratching him and not having him play. So it might be something where it's a pick and it's a cap dump and they go out and get someone else. But yeah, I think that was all we wanted to talk about. I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add.
No, I've got nothing.
Yeah, well, this was, I'm so excited for tonight. Like, I'd say keep an eye out for me, but I'm sitting up in the 300s, so
I'll still be there. I'm like right up to my laptop.
Like looking whenever they show the 300s, yeah. But I don't know if you are at the game. I don't know but I'll be there in the 300s cheering for Joseph Holl. Noted Lego fan. Just close it off. Here's the out. We'll close it out. We still have the link in the show notes, so you can donate to the Sick Kids Foundation. We've decided to leave it up. I think we'll just leave it up for the rest of the month. So if you still want to donate or share that link, that's where you can find it. This has been another. Thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure. We will enjoy the game, and we will see you on Monday when we talk about. We'll dissect this game, and we'll talk about the Leafs and the Preds on Saturday. Speaking of the Predators, when the Leafs take on the Predators at home. I'm Emma. I'm joined by Marcie. You can find us on Twitter at PairB1 at 60Leafs.